listeners, you found Sanctuary's Coffee and Conversation Show. I'm Myrna Haskell, Executive Editor of Sanctuary Magazine. This is an online publication for women that empowers and inspires with a focus on the arts, humanitarian pursuits, health and wellness, inspirational travel, career, and finance. You can find us at sanctuary-magazine.com. Today, my guest is Sue Diamond. She is a certified financial social worker, author, speaker, and CEO of Herfinance Club. Welcome, Sue. So great to have you today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Likewise. Thank you so much for inviting me, Myrna.
Oh, and I'm so happy. This is actually the first topic we've had on finance, and as it is the month of April, I know that finance has been on everyone's mind. And earlier this week, of course, we had our deadline, so I'm hoping that our readers and listeners got all their stuff in on time. I know I did, but I know that it's a big topic this month, and I appreciate you joining me today. To let listeners know, our topic today is what keeps women financially stuck. So I wanted to start out with you, Sue, start the conversation by asking you about money blocks that women have. And the second part to that question is, are there any cultural or historical reasons behind some of these typical money blocks?
Right. And I guess in response to that, Myrna, I'll talk a little bit about, so people know what a money block is and what it means to be financially stuck. So women face, very different relationships when it comes to finances, money, and, investing, more so than men, because often we have very different experiences. So as women, we tend to view money not just as a means to an end, but it's a tool for us to improve our lives and, support our families and achieve what's really important and what we value most. And a part of that is as well contributing to our communities. But unfortunately, most women, and I would say probably 80% of the women that I've met with and have interviewed over the years, whether they're single, partner, divorced, or widowed, they face what I like to refer to as internal money blocks. And what this does is it tends to make us feel overwhelmed. It, makes us feel a little unsure and sometimes even unheard. So I know that these internal money blocks, as I like to say, or our money beliefs, or scripts that we tell ourselves, are related to our internal programming, which stems from money beliefs. So I'll just to give a little history, I'm going to answer your question backwards.
No, go right ahead. This is all very, very interesting.
So we know that our experiences are a result in terms of societal pressures, culture, and childhood and family situations that I like to refer to that component as AKA your money story. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But we know society's concept of how people are expected to look and behave is based on societal norms that have been created for male and female. So these gender role socializations begin at birth and they continue throughout our whole life. And I think, in the US culture, like many other Western cultures, for centuries, the female role was that of a housewife and a caretaker, and the male was, responsible for working and taking care of the household and managing the money. Right. And although, we've made great strides, women, in terms of changing our role in terms of being a professional and sometimes, in many cases, being the breadwinner in the household, society still is dictating some of those, roles that they've identified previously. And things like when I went to school, it was girls aren't good at maths. So you were encouraged to take homemaker classes as opposed to an algebra.
Home ec it was in my area.
Yeah, so it'd be like how to bake a cake and how to learn to sew. And things of that nature, because they'd already identified what role was ahead of you.
Right.
But I think, when we think about this, then we've got that to battle with. So that's just on the cultural and society. But then the other thing is, when I think about it, women could not get a business loan without their husband co-signing for them until the 90s. And I'm still flabbergasted by that. And I'm sure all of your listeners can relate to this, in the sense that Friends was on the TV in the 90s, and we know Friends is still on the TV now. So can you believe it? When Friends first started, women had to get their husband to co-sign for a business loan. So we have that, and then we have the obstacles that are unique to women. And one of the most obvious, which does tie into kind of cultural, is the gender pay gap, which, again, it's the most obvious. But some of the other things are, women have a longer end game. We have, we live longer, and the 20th century has added to that. So
Right.
Living to a grand old age sounds wonderful, but unfortunately what comes along with that is chronic disease and disability.
Right. And you have to prepare for those things.
Yes.
Right.
And so we have greater debt, which it's good debt in the sense that it's student loans, because more women are actually graduating from college than men. But then the other side to that, outside of us earning less money, we put less money away. So when we look at, kind of culture and societal norms, then we look at these obstacles that are unique to women. And then on top of that, we tend to put our own needs aside to care for others, as well as doubt our own abilities. So we have a whole slew of things that actually tie into our money blocks. So when I think about money blocks, so the number one money block I like to refer to as is ties into our nurturing side as women. And it's about prioritizing the needs of others over your own.
We talk about this a lot at Sanctuary, Sue.
We do this all the time.
Most women do that.
Right. So when I talk about money blocks, what I mean is, anything extra I have, I give to my kids or my loved ones. They deserve it more than I do. Or sometimes I give more money than I can afford, or I don't like spending money on myself, or I feel guilty about taking me time, or I don't feel worthy unless I'm doing something for others. So I think what we have to remember here is that, every achievement, big or small, starts or it begins in your mind. And that's not my quote, but I'm trying to remember who it was, and I'm sorry I can't.
I know of it too, and I can't think of it. Oh well.
But here's the truth, and I love this analogy and I use it all the time. So what's the first thing when you get on the aeroplane that the steward or stewardess is going to say to you? They're going to say, put your oxygen mask on first before helping others. And the same thing applies here, because taking care of others starts by taking care of yourself, right? So you can be the best version of yourself. So there's one money block. So then in terms of money block number 2, well, that's tied to money secrecy. So we know, money's still considered a social taboo for women. We'll talk about sex, drugs, and rock and roll before we'll say, well, how much are they paying you,
Right.
in work? And so we still hear, or I hear, I don't talk about, about how I spend my money. I think money is a taboo topic, or, I find it hard to open up about money with my partner or loved ones, or, I don't like talking, about money or having a money conversation because I don't know what to say. And I was talking to a woman just 2 weeks ago, and she has a PhD, really smart lady. And she said the first time she met with the financial advisor with her husband, she said she didn't know what he was talking about. She said she felt stupid. She didn't want to ask in case, she came across as not being smart. But of course, the financial advisor was talking in acronyms. So it was like he was talking Latin. as opposed to, English. So, these are things that, if any of these thoughts sound familiar to you, then there's some money blocks going on here. And here's the truth, staying silent about money contributes to lower salaries for women, in the workplace, and it contributes to the common myth that women are not as good at money as men. So we have to, I'm on a mission to inspire 1 million women to get talking about money, because money empowers us. And
I have heard, Sue, that women are way less frequently on the block to sort of ask for a promotion or ask for a raise. They don't tend to do that, whereas men feel very comfortable doing that. I've read that in several different places, and different, research that's gone on about, why women aren't promoted at as fast a rate, etc. So that's another thing, right? Not wanting to ask for more is the value. Do I value myself enough to ask for more, right?
Yeah. And that ties right into money block number 3, lacking confidence in your own knowledge. So, I have thoughts like, I'm not good with numbers and I'll never understand them. I feel I should know more about money at this point in my life. But certainly when it comes to negotiating, again, it kind of goes back to, looking at how we value ourselves and our self-worth. And again, this is something that, in terms of being able to negotiate, you have to be able to share what you're good at. You have to be able to share the skill sets, that are moving the company forward. Not about, I deserve a raise because I work hard, but being able to share how have you helped, based on your skill set, move things forward. Now, women don't like to talk about how good they are at things, because they consider it to be boastful or showing. I mean, again, I grew up in an environment, I grew up in Liverpool, and it's like, if you said you were good at something, they'd be like, stop being a show off. If you think you're going to be a show off, we're not going to talk to you. So it was like, so again, the cultural aspect was, you're not supposed to, we're really good at promoting other people's skill sets, but we're not good at promoting ourselves. So again, in terms of negotiating, we have to get past this lacking confidence in our own knowledge. And I think a really good analogy, I don't know if I mentioned this when we chatted previously, but so in terms of confidence, so when we look at a position description, men will typically, when they look at a position description and they meet 60% of the criteria, they'll feel confident in applying for the job. They'll feel confident in their abilities to be able to do that. Women, on the other hand, will look at it, and if they only meet 95% of the description, they'll start to wonder, should they go back to college to meet the other 5 or 10%?
Okay, I have heard that. I think I had talked to you about that. Yes, that's crazy.
So again, it goes back to that confidence level and believing in ourselves. So, here's the truth. Research shows that women are better at saving and investing than men. Okay. Studies also show that while men are quick to call themselves experts, women often underrate their skills, even when they hold advanced degrees. So ladies, it's, you've got to start thinking. I like to, when I talk about negotiating, whether it's as an entrepreneur and asking what you feel is valuable. I was talking to an attorney not that long ago, and she didn't like to ask her clients for more money. She still, I don't feel comfortable
I've
doing
seen that a lot with women too. In my business, and the number of women I've interviewed and have talked to, and even talked to about personal things, I have totally seen that, Sue.
Right.
So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. So, but we're undervaluing ourselves. And
Yes,
not only are we doing it for ourselves, we're opening the door for everybody behind us to be undervalued.
that's right.
So if you have to believe in yourself and your own worth, because if you don't, you can't
Nobody
expect other
else's,
people.
yes.
Right, right. And I think the other thing that ties into that a little bit, which is another money block, is uncertainty and decision paralysis. So I hear, I'm not sure what my options are or what decisions, I need to make, or retirement is so close that nothing I do will change anything, or I know I need to make changes to my finances, but I don't know where to start, or I feel overwhelmed. So again, success is liking yourself, right? Liking what you do and liking how you do it. That's critical. We're our own worst enemy in terms of beating ourselves over the head in regards to perfectionism. And there's no such thing as perfectionism, and you have to let things go. I have to do it.
I have to be reminded of that. So let me
Yeah.
ask
Oh,
you
me
this
too.
though. What about like our financial past? Well, how does that impact, our thoughts and the reality today?
Right.
How does that tie in?
Well, that's going to tie into, so our money mindset and our beliefs are the foundation to us creating wealth. That this is critical in terms of creating financial success. And building a solid foundation involves developing a better relationship with money, aka understanding your money story. So when I talk about your money story, it's understanding your relationship with money and how it plays a unique role in your financial well-being. And when you understand that, your life will get better and you become more empowered and you control your money, and it's not necessarily the other way around. But everyone has a money story, and we all have our own unique money stories. So your past money story, I like to say, holds the secrets to your future financial well-being. And it's about how well do you know yours. So your money story begins at birth and it continues, throughout your lifetime. And it's a personal narrative about money that, it makes up your beliefs, which
So
create
that
the money
includes
blocks.
pitfalls and everything too along the way, Sue? Like when you
I'm
say your
sorry.
money story, that includes various pitfalls that have happened to you, maybe money lows and highs along the way. Are you including all of that in a personal, individual money story?
Right. Well, your money story is created typically by the time you're 8 or 9 years of age. And
Oh,
it's
okay.
based on not necessarily what you were taught, but those verbal and nonverbal messages that you picked up as a child
Oh, okay.
that, were around what was happening around the household and what was happening around money and what happened on payday. Was everybody happy? Did you
Okay.
go out for
Yeah,
dinner?
things that a
Or
7 or 8-year-old will pick up on for sure. Yeah.
yes, and or were voices raised and doors slammed. So right or wrong, then we create unconscious assumptions which become our beliefs.
Okay.
So our beliefs come from our money story, and our beliefs create the behaviors that we have, which in turn create the results that we have with our money. So that's why it's really important for us to kind of, who we are today is the outcome of our past choices, which speaks to also what you had mentioned. And so the more we're connected to the money story, then the healthier, our financial results will be, because we'll have an understanding of what created our beliefs. And that's what, in turn creates the behaviors. So then we can start to look at, how do we change this? But again,
Right,
it was
how do
like,
you master it? I think, like, how do you
yes,
master that relationship so that you're now comfortable and you've reached maybe that individual personal idea of what you have as what you believe is a successful financial present and future, right?
right, right. So I'll just give a quick example before I look at some of the things that we can do to master that. But key is, as an example, let's say you experience some trauma or unhappiness as a child. So this unhappiness stemmed from your parents maybe fighting about their finances. So the story you picked up was that lack of money was a problem in the family. So in your child's mind, you're going to infer that if your family only had money, the difficulties and unhappiness would go away.
Okay.
So then, in an attempt to avoid the same problem in your adult life, you might strive to accumulate more and more cash, or seek, complete control over finances in your relationships, or perhaps go in the opposite direction and just don't want to deal with money since it's a source of pain from the past. So, and I come across a lot of people, for many, having a scarcity mindset about money, or feeling that, there's never enough. It is very, very common. So even when there is more money coming in, it never feels like it's enough. So this is why, we kind of have to take a look back at our childhood to see how this mindset formed.
Okay.
So when we think about, what are some of the things that we can do in order to, is it master we're talking about?
Yeah, it just, to how do you master that? How you take total control, right?
Right.
Where you feel, where you may have felt out of control in the past.
Right. Well, I think it's important for us to first know that, we often don't know how to tell our own money story to ourselves in order to know how to change it, because it requires us to understand and assess the relationship with money.
Right.
And just so everybody knows, this isn't, because when I used to work in the financial industry, and no disrespect to my male counterparts, but a lot of what I said sometimes they thought was woo-woo. But their neuroscientists have found that 95% of our decision making is unconscious. So this means that the beliefs and patterns in our unconscious mind determine what we want to do next. So we're making decisions about our finances and not really
even realizing why.
No, absolutely.
So that's why you have to dig back into that and realize that your perceptions were the result of A, B, C, D, and then this is how you can move forward, make things better now that you understand where your starting point was,
absolutely.
Right? Yeah, I get that. I get that.
Yeah, and the key, the challenge then is how can we make our stories fully conscious so we can understand and change them? Because the mind and the brain work, in tangent in terms of our relationship with money, and it's so complicated because some aspects are emotional, some aspects are unspoken, and then other aspects are even unconscious.
Right.
So it's it can be done. It's not easy, but we can definitely, rewrite, because we are the authors of our money story. So we can rewrite our money story.
Oh, I like that too. We're the authors of the money story.
So we can create.
We're in control. That gives you back the control when you think of it that way.
Yeah. I mean, everything we do and every decision we make is a choice. Sometimes, it's unconscious, but we have to then think about, as we're thinking about certain aspects of our finances, digging a little deeper into, well, why am I, I could go into a whole thing in terms of our brain and
oh my goodness, I have to have you back on the show.
Super highway.
We'll do a part 2, Sue, and you can go into some more specifics, because I know we have a lot of listeners that will really appreciate that piece, and all the research behind this. I do want to ask you this though. What's the one thing our listeners should do right now today so that they're winning with wealth? I think that's your expression, winning with wealth. So what do they need to do? What's one thing they need to do?
Right. Well, create a knowledge bank, make time every day just to learn something new about money. to just take 2 minutes, whether it's skimming through the business headlines in the newspaper or glancing at money blogs, or if you're driving.
It makes total sense. That's what you have to do when you learn a foreign language, right? You do a little bit every day. You don't like do 10 hours one day and then drop it for 2 months, right?
Right.
Same, you're learning a new language almost.
Yeah, and I mean, driving, our brain goes to default. That allows us to listen to a podcast while we're driving somewhere. That's why we never remember how we got there. But it's difficult to understand money if we don't understand the terminology or the current trends. So once you start looking, just committing to a couple of minutes every day. And the other thing is encouraging a spirit of abundance. Consider doing something relaxing like meditating or walking when you're stressed out about money or don't have enough. De-stressing can help us develop actionable steps to either increase our income or solve our money problems. So
because we have to be focused, not under a high anxiety situation in order to solve any type of problem, right?
Yeah, because we use our emotions to make decisions, but we certainly want to make sure we're in a good emotional place when we're making those decisions. We don't want to do it when we're tired, when we're angry, when we're overwhelmed. We need to step back from that and come back to it. And then I think the other one is making sure you're giving yourself the help you need, because we're always open as women to help everybody else, but we never ask for help. So I think it's great to think that we can handle money on our own. And the truth is that most of us need support from others. And as women, we tend to hold back and not ask for help when we should be reaching out more often. So, there are different things like women's groups. I mean, there's the Herfinance Club. I can share the link to that.
I was just going to ask you anyway, and I see that you have your book cover behind you. A little birdie told me that you have a brand new book out. And so why don't you take the time for a minute or two now to tell our listeners, because now that I know they hear about your background and everything you know about this, a little bit more about your services, about this new book, which, by the way, listeners, will be excerpted in Sanctuary Magazine in June, if you want to take a peek there. But I'm going to give you the floor on that, Sue. So
okay. So the money belief formula, mindset plus behavior equals financial success, transform your habits and win with wealth, ties into some of what I've been talking today. So the book provides a critical strategy by helping you examine your money beliefs and behaviors. And the result behind that is it's going to help you translate money meanings, which will allow you to start making a mental shift toward an abundant mindset by implementing, the money belief formula. It's a quick, easy read, because I know when we think about finance, it's like, ugh. So it's, I don't know, I think the paperbacks, I can't remember, it's around 100 pages. It's like a 2-hour read. There, in addition to the chapters, there's activities and worksheets provided at the end of each chapter to help you put what you've learned into practice.
It's interactive to a certain extent. Okay.
Yeah, and it's important to know that, to achieve your definition of success, you must first break the money taboo and empower your money relationship, because until and unless behavior changes, nothing changes. So we have to look, you can look for all the solutions in the world, but until you look inside yourself, nothing's going to help. So, and regardless of how financial savvy you are, there may be opportunities for you to improve, but it's all about understanding your money story. So just in terms of the book, it's on Amazon right now. And the ebook is on special offer till the end of the month for 99 cents.
Oh, wow. So, okay.
Yeah,
and is that all right up front on your Herfinance Club site? Because I am going to post that in credits at the end of this show. People can go to your website.
I think you have to go into the book and then, so you don't get there directly, but I can share a link, the Amazon link with you. If people just want to go directly to that. So
okay. And they will get to see it if they don't get a chance between now and then, also in our June issue. So that would be great. But I
Yes,
want to
yeah.
say, Sue, that I would love to have you back so we could maybe dig into in a little bit more detail a couple of the things that we sort of said today, because I know it's a wealth of information, and there's a lot of places where you really could have like gotten super detailed with us about some of this.
Right.
So I hope that you would like to come back and talk to me
Oh,
again.
yes.
But this
Of
was
course.
wonderful. Thank you so much for being my first finance guru.
Well, thank you. Much appreciated for inviting me, Myrna.
Okay, and we'll collaborate again. I'll close as I always do by wishing all of our listeners and our readers good health, happiness, and continued inspiration. Thank you so much for joining us today.